Da-da-da. Let's see. Can do. All right, sorry I'm late. I am late, and my apologies, but we're gonna get it going. Cool. Who is blowing up my phone? Let me live. I think it's Twitch. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, never mind. Oh, you know what? That should be a little bit lighter. Or no, you know what? That's actually fine. Just gonna try some graphical things today. And go from there. So I'm just rearranging some stuff so that I can see properly. And I should use the same brush to erase. Bam! Oh, let me type in my restream thing as well. Restream chat. There we go. I gotta put that on, otherwise I'm gonna forget. Where is it? Is it loading up? Oh, there it is. But where is it? Oh, it's right there. Alright, cool. Alright, so yeah, we're just gonna do some kind of light backgrounds here and stuff. Probably use a bigger brush, but I mean, these can start off like relatively small, and then we can work our way up. So I'm not too worried about it. Rodrigo's writing, hey, do you think while doing this kind of stuff, or just keep going with some kind of flow and start visualize something? Yeah, usually I'll kind of just make big strokes, and that's kind of the way I like to think about it. So like, if we're doing it in this way, like sometimes I could get some reference. Maybe we could do that actually. So you could make like a little reference mood board above it, and then that might help you in terms of like getting some like interesting ideas. So that would mean I'd have to go to like my folder over here and probably just look at like inspiration. Usually like of other artists or of just photography. So in this case, like we could easily do photography, right? Like we could go through, maybe I'll grab some, let's see. Alright, so here's some from that pack of like Misty Lagoon. You know, I could drag one of these images in here. Use that as some reference. I might get some like architectural thing. Maybe I'll look at some like Madrid stuff, and that could be some good reference. So maybe if I go on my Facebook and I could grab some stuff. You know what? I'll just do it myself. Parque Retiro, one of my favorite parks in Madrid. So then I could go in there, and then I like a lot of the stuff going on in that place. So I'll grab that as inspiration. And then maybe I'll grab like an artist that I like, and those can kind of be like my go-tos for things. So then I got that. All right, so I got two things, like piece of photography. It's like one nature, one architecture. Maybe I can look at someone like G. Lee Luan, I think is how you say his name. I don't know how to say his name, but Lee Luan. There you go. So I'm on my other screen here, so I might look at some of his work, right? And then that would be like the three things that you can kind of do while you're ripping off of stuff. And so, like, there's not like a right or wrong way per se, but like I like a lot of his work, and just in terms of like the scale and stuff like that. So I might grab something really, really small, right? Like a let's see. I like the way he does his rocks. They're like really cool. But I like the way he does this too. So we'll grab this one. So then bam, right? And so sometimes you can have like a small, like I think the more images the better. Like you don't want to have just like 3, but you can have that, right? And then you can start to kind of like begin to kind of rip off of stuff. So now if I begin to, work, and I'll just put this in a group. And let's just say now I go back to making those big strokes. Now we have something to kind of work off of technically. So what's going on, Fitz? So now if I'm working on some things, I'm making bold strokes, I'm going across, that kind of stuff and whatnot. So like already, like that feels like visually interesting to me. I don't know why. And I can erase too as well. So we're just kind of maybe trying to find like certain shapes or something. So I like some of that organicness. So maybe that's like that's why it appeals to me, because it feels organic, but it also feels like it could be structural too, like in a way that's like a path or something. So it could go either way. So like that's the point where I can begin to kind of mess around with it until I find something that I think is like visually interesting. So I like the organic idea of it for now. But I think in the beginning, we're just trying to kind of get big, bold strokes. Like, it just, for some reason, I feel like that just creates like a really nice flow. And that now I kind of like that shape too, because it's kind of like this nice riff here. So maybe then we do like a darken or something. Like, so like when in doubt, what you could do is you could just go a little bit lighter, and then you can just put your brush in darken mode. And in theory, it won't go over things. It will just paint behind it, even though I'm only on one layer. So then that's actually nice too, right? So it's like a little pro tip that everyone knows. So now more and more, as I'm kind of like making some of these strokes, like it feels more like some kind of forest or something. So I don't know. But yeah, so then I'll turn that back off, and then I can maybe kind of start to riff on it again if need be. So who knows, like it's a good way to kind of just practice like your idea of just painting from abstraction, of like not really having like anything like in your head. So at this point, it's just, let's just make things that look kind of like juicy, sexy. And I like to do this just because it's like there's not much of a loss in case you like kind of fuck it up. And Fitz is reading before I start going to work. Yeah, right on, dude. Yeah, sorry, I was a little late. I was playing some games a little bit. I was taking a break. I kind of like that gradation there or something. Maybe like not that light, but who knows? So that's one, but then right there, I just don't like it, so I'll just get rid of it. So that's what you can do very, very easily, and just start over again until you find something that starts to kind of make sense to you. Huh, that's actually interesting. So now that I have that, so that's kind of cool. Like it's kind of emulating that a little bit. But maybe we kind of emulate that a little bit. Alright, so there's like levels to it. Mr. Ben Jennings, what's up, Ben? So that's where like I would kind of go in and just see what little tick marks I can make to kind of help this like read stronger. So a little stuff like that is kind of useful. And maybe, yeah. So, and then we'll just close it off. Just like that. And maybe we'll add a little bit of an extra thing to it. Probably want these lines to be super, super thin, so we don't, so it feels like it's far away or something. So that could be cool, right? And just kind of mess around with it. So at this point, I'm just gonna try to like fake architecture design here. Well, not fake it, but just kind of imply detail. Yeah, just a little bit of comp design, not doing anything. I was gonna work on like my Octane scene, but then I'm kind of tired of doing 3D today, so we're just gonna keep it back to the fundamentals, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Which is always useful, but I think one day I'll actually go through a comp weekly, which I have to make. Actually, I haven't made the comp weekly yet for the next version. So that's my shitty piece of architecture that I could possibly use later for something. Who knows? But again, it's a comp, so I'm not like stressing over it. Maybe I'll put a little thing right there. Then it kind of makes it feel like there's a... So that could be like one comp, like if I make it look a little bit nicer. And you know, I'd probably add all the fixins and stuff like that. Little lines here and there can help kind of just give it more detail. Boom, boom, boom. That's cool. So work I'm on right now for Comp Weekly. Posted it on Insta, finishing one of them. Need to study architecture. Do you have tips to study architecture? Just draw it. Literally just find a period of architecture that you like, or that interests you, and just literally do design comps from it. So what you would do is you would kind of evaluate like what makes it like visually interesting. So you would have to kind of break down like the small, medium, and large shapes, and then from there you can begin to kind of maybe break some stuff down and do it yourself. So let's just say in theory, right, we wanted to do like one of these right here. So I'll get a better image of it, just so we can kind of show you. I'll just show you how I think about it. Parque Retiro. Images. Sorry, I'm on my other screen right now, so that's why. I just gotta find a better image of the estanque. Yeah, estanque is what we need to see. Alright, actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let me make it so the settings are advanced, I guess. No, tools. There you go, size. Large. We need some large images of the estanque. Man, it's probably as big as I'm gonna get. Alright, we'll take that one. I can live with that. So, my wife just arrived home. Nice. Alright, so if I am doing a study, right? How do we do that? So we're not really caring about like the overall detail, but what I do want to, what I do care about is understanding like design. So what I like to think about is when I see stuff like this in my head, what I'd want to do is break down the medium, the big, medium, and like tertiary shapes. So actually, I guess in my head that would probably be tertiary because of this big giant horse that's not really a part of the base. Alright, so even this part would be a part of the base. Alright. So I think of like red, blue, green is how I like to think about it. So if I did that, I would do red, just like so, and go from there. Hello, my wife. How are you? So that would be the big shape right there, right? That's the big stuff. So the next, I want to think about like tertiary, secondary forms. So what are the secondary forms? Where are the big, the next thing that you notice besides the big giant reed? So then I would make that in green. And so in my head, I always try to kind of break things down. Architecture usually has this. Usually, like all good architecture usually has this. I don't know why. I'm not a architect by any means, but usually they have this, and I don't know why. And this is all up to kind of interpretation, by the way, too. Like, it's not like 100% set in stone either. So you just gotta take it for what it is. So anyways, yeah, so that would be the green, and I'll lower the opacity there. So that would be the green. That would be that. And if you want to make it all super nice, then you can, you can do that if you want. Doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you're able to like understand what you're seeing. And so architecture usually is confusing because of this, because there's so much shit going on. It's really, really easy to like get overwhelmed with like all the different things that are happening. So then the last thing is just the tertiary shapes. And you can go even further than that if you want to, but I choose not to. And that might be like some of these things right here. I'm not really sure. So it would be like these things. Those guys, and like these guys, or like, I guess like that, maybe like these things right here, etc., etc. So that's what you want to do. Now I'm not saying I'm doing this like 100% perfectly, because I was always up for interpretation, but the goal here is we're trying to like break it down. Like if you were to like model this out in 3D, that's like how you'd want to think about it. And so then once you do all that in your head, you can start to kind of maybe practice breaking down those shapes. So like that's when you would actually go in here and you would draw it out. Like you would just literally try to see if you can draw it in a different perspective. So and so I wanna kind of attack it the exact same way, in terms of saying, okay, well, what are the big shapes? You know what I mean? And I want to kind of go little by little. And so, I'm just gonna take my time and kind of just break stuff down. And so, I mean, like, you can be like super accurate with this if you want to, but I'm just trying to get like the general shape of it is like what I want from it. And then looks like there's another piece right there. And another piece. And the biggest thing that you really want to like focus on, like in my opinion, is like proportion. Proportion's like really important here. So that's how I would kind of like begin to break it down. And then of course there's like this weird thing going on here. Like, sure, why not? And then of course it kind of goes even further up, and then, you know, there's some weird, oh, so it's kind of like a round shape. So like that right there, I didn't realize that, so like in my head what I need to do is think about that it's actually this, it's actually, you know. And so you want to be able to kind of break things down to its simplest form. And then once you're able to do that, I feel like everything becomes a lot easier to kind of draw, because now when you're actually like working it out, when you're blocking it in, you know, it just makes it that much easier. And so because it's environments, like you want to kind of go for like the most graphical part of it, so like where the shadows are gonna lay, because more times than not you're not gonna draw everything. So then that's when I would kind of just sit there and like build all that stuff out, you know what I mean? Like just like little by little. I'm just trying to find like the super like graphical elements of this piece. That's all that I care about. So like I would just break that down. Boom. Like I don't know what that shape is, but I just know that there's like a light and dark. And slowly but surely, I'm just kind of taking my time and just trying to kind of break this stuff down little by little. So that's kind of how I tend to do it. Not all the time, but like that's all that I want. And then you can do like some small line studies if you want to figure out the patterns, all that kind of stuff. That's totally up to you, like how much you want to take it. And then like eventually you may even want like another value here, like to kind of like draw all this stuff. But like that's exactly how I would do it. Do all that stuff, boom, boom, right? Like, so that's what I'm trying to do, because when I'm painting, like because I've been to this park before and I'd actually draw this thing a lot. That's how I would do it. So I would think of it like a marker, like an actual Sharpie marker. I'm trying to like break all like the basic shapes down, so that way, you know, it's less work for me to do. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Is I'm trying to say, okay, where are like the big shapes? And how can I break this thing down? Right, this is a horse, whatever. And so little by little, you just kind of work your way through. So Ben says, to approach like 3D modeling, focus on primary, plot proportions. Yeah, it should be as accurate as you can get it. So eventually, like if that's not good, then what I need to do is I need to break down literally every shape and think about proportion. So I need to go in there and think about drawing that shape, which is right there. And then underneath that is a box. And I need to draw the box. And I need to figure out that that box has some kind of tapering, you know, and kind of work that out and whatnot, and like build all that stuff out. Or you can just draw it straight up. So you can draw it as a straight on view, and that will actually really help you figure out the proportions. So if I draw that out, and I'm, you know, saying, okay, that's going to be there. Boom, boom, boom. Make that smaller. you know, you can just duplicate that, and then you can literally see like how that's gonna look. And then eventually what you would do actually is you would just duplicate it over. So you would just draw one half because it's symmetrical, so you don't need to sit there and do all that stuff. So if it comes out underneath this, there's all like these things. And then you can boom there, and then go up. And so I'm just trying to look at the proportions of it, and then hopefully like that all works, you know what I mean? So then I could just duplicate that and take it and flip it, and then hopefully that will look like the right proportions of this building. And so the reason why it's hard is because it takes a long time to kind of study everything to the point where you can begin to kind of draw it, do it in 3D without having to look at anything, or like, you know, like draw it from command. So my architecture is kind of limited in a way. Like I look at a lot of Spanish architecture because I live there. So I think a lot of my stuff will, if I ever do draw things, it kind of has like the, you know, these kind of corners, stuff like that. And I hate drawing horses, so I'm not even going to try to do that. So yeah, that's a couple ways you can think about doing architecture. And you just got to do like one every day. If you do like one every day and just take your time, like just don't rush it. If you don't rush it, then you should be fine. Like eventually you'll get to a point where like you're confident in like your architecture, and then you'll just pull stuff out of your head. But more times than not, if I'm doing it for clients, I almost always have reference, because like I'm not gonna try to like brag about doing it out of my head when I can just get reference, and that will just solve my problem. Got it? Good. All right. And I would also look at other people that do it better than me. Like Tyler Edlin is like really good at architecture. He probably has a better solution to your issue. Mine is built on like speed and laziness. Yeah, I said it. Okay. Needs application is to redraw the same object but change the proportion to try and make it look like a good design. Yeah, you could do that one. Or draw it from a different perspective. Yeah, that's another one. Did that a lot in Mache's class. Kusiara did that. He'd make you draw things like upside down and stuff, just to really kind of make sure that you understood it. To relax. Hey, relax, buddy. I don't know what the hell this is, but it's like creating a little bit of a light source or something. I feel like I'm in a cave or something. It's really weird. But yeah, like I'll do a bunch of these just because I know that like whichever one I do is going to be ass. So, but sometimes you get like a cool result and then you'll kind of just rework it or something. So like this actually is like kind of cool, like in my head. Like I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's like I feel like I can draw a little person right here in this. Yeah, see, it's a little guy. Yeah, there you go, man. I'm glad I tried it out. See, look at that. That's cool. And like I said, like you shouldn't be afraid to like throw stuff away, like at all. Like because these are like super rough, like I really don't care, like if they don't work out or not. So, for instance, I will do it right now. I'll just delete it. I don't give a shit. Because you shouldn't care either. Because they're small and they're not like. Doesn't mean anything. So as long as you understand that, nothing is sacred, nothing is precious, like it's cool. I mean, some things are precious, but in terms of concept art, not so much. So I just need those big shapes, you know? Like, that's where... I want to draw big, I want to erase big. It's kind of like the idea. And I like that angle. And worst comes to worst, I can always make another layer with a different lighting on it. And there we go, right? So right now I'm already like, oh, that's a waterfall. Oh shit. See, like that's cool. Which means I need to kind of create that mist a little bit. So that's like, now you can really start to kind of play with it once you start introducing that kind of stuff. Oh snap, I can't say any bad words because my little nephew is watching, so pardon my French. So there you go. Alright. So yeah, so I like what's going on here, and I could easily make this into something. Because... oh snap. Oh shoot. Ah, see? I didn't cuss. For shizzle. Alright, I need to... oh, you know what? That's what I can do. So by kind of erasing, I'm gonna create like this little idea of like of little rocks that are kind of hitting it or something. And this might actually give me the idea of like counterbalance, of like counterweight. So I don't know. So yeah, by creating that overlap, even though it's the same value, it now looks like there's more depth to it, I suppose. So I'm just trying to find like the proper stroke, or the proper like edge, and I'll do this for like hours too, because I'm an idiot, and I'll like mess with that. But anyways, I probably shouldn't be doing that, in theory. Anyways, let's just say that we like that for the most part. You know, maybe we can... I could throw in a lighten layer here. This might actually help out if I just go with a little bit of a lighter value. Yeah. So it can't be... no, see? That's cool. Now maybe I like erase, maybe I erase some of this guy right here, and then I put a boat, because I like boats. Boats are tight. So I'm like, I should put a little boat here, just for like scale. And by boat, I'm just gonna draw like one little notch right here. Done. That's my boat. The boat's got to have a shadow, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But it can have like super white sails. And we will erase that. See, that's my boat. I mean, it's not the most amazing boat, but it will get the job done. So I just want to put like something small there to give the idea that this is water, I suppose. And obviously I could maybe even, you know, play with some of the light there. But there you go. So all of a sudden, so counterweight, what you're asking about is, I meant counterbalance. So if something's going in that direction, you want something going in the other direction. So it's just the idea that like if you go in one direction, you want something to kind of, it's like life drawing, right? Counterweight or counterbalance, like contrapposto. Like if one thing is going in that direction, then you want the other thing going in the other direction. So it's just pretty much like that. It's like chain link. So anytime I can make a counterbalance, so aka if I'm going in this direction right here, everything is going in that direction. I want to find a way that I can go in the other direction. So it kind of helps like bounce your eye around the composition more. So that's all that is. It's not anything like crazy. But understanding like why that can be like really powerful is actually like really, really good, because you can do a lot of cool things with that. Contrapposto. There you go. Yeah, contrapposto it. Anyways, but yeah, you're always trying to find like a way to balance the composition out, and that's one way that you can do that. So then all you gotta do is put like I feel like this is like there should be a guy like overlooking it, like some like Native American dude. And he should be looking at these sails or whatever. Which leads me to think, do I even need this? Do I need that? And if so, what height do I need it at? Who knows? That's why you do it. That's why you do these kind of things. And so after doing like 30 bad ones, like we have one that actually kind of looks like it actually be something, and that's good. So that's why, like in theory, you don't want to spend too much time on this. In general, you want to just kind of work through different shapes, and then eventually when you feel like you found one that you can use, well then you can go in there and have fun with it and stuff. And so I don't want this value, I want that value. Because maybe there might be another kind of shape to kind of play with there. Who knows? But I imagine there's going to be like some big giant like foliage there going on. I just have to now figure out like, you know, how dark do I want something? Or what's the perspective, I suppose, is probably the next big question. Is like, because that part hasn't really been figured out yet, and that's going to be a big issue if I don't figure it out. For now it's very graphic, but it has the potential to kind of like be something really cool. I just don't know what that is, what that entails. But You know, it's looking promising. This would be one that if I probably would draw it a couple more times over, just to really see if like I can make this composition like the most interesting that it can possibly be. And so once I then settle on that, then I would go ahead and like really kind of create some perspective, maybe get some line art. So it's like a whole process like anything else. But I imagine it having a nice small gradation, like right to left. So if you want to know why I'm not using color, you could use color if you want. I think when you're doing composition, color can be misleading, so sometimes it's better to do things in black and white, just because it's easier to keep track of. With color, you gotta worry about temperature and stuff like that, but eventually, if I like this, then I would naturally bring it in color. And then I'd have to actually go and figure out, well, what colors do I want to use, that kind of stuff. So eventually I would go in there and do the same exact composition, but then I would actually bring it in there and just kind of work that out. So that's where you would have to take your time. Because once you introduce color, right, if I were to kind of sample like some of his stuff right there, you have to kind of have a game plan. That's a whole other thing that like to do it on stream isn't hard. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but like I'd have to really kind of think about what kind of colors I want to use, and then I break it out. But then I want to keep, you know, this same exact composition. So it's a way of tackling one thing at a time and not really having to worry about it too much. So that's all it is. So it is 8 o'clock, so it's time for me to head out. Thank you everyone that rolled out. I really much appreciate it. Hopefully I'll get the comp I can't even speak right now. The comp weeklies out sometime tomorrow, probably Thursday most likely actually, and then hopefully you guys will get on that. I might just post this one because it was actually kind of fun. And yeah, Thursdays is not looking good because I have soccer practice on Thursdays. So I gotta find a time that works. So either later after when I get back or earlier. So I apologize if you've been coming to Thursday feedback and we haven't been having it. It's because my season started up and we've been having soccer practice. So I apologize. And it goes from 7 to 9. So I gotta figure out whether I do it early or whether I do it late. I'm thinking early might be more realistic. Luckily, the soccer practice is like down up the freeway. It's not very far from me. So. All right. Yeah, I will see you guys later. And until then, take care. And as always, yeah, peace out.